Welcome to Quest to Unite Africa News. Your news from around the world.
Niger struggles with debt default amid post-coup turmoil. Niger, a West African nation grappling with the aftermath of a coup last July, finds itself in deeper financial distress as it defaults on debt payments once again. The country's total debt default has now surged to a staggering $519 million, exacerbating the economic challenges triggered by political instability. The coup, which ousted the government of former President Mahamadou Issoufou, plunged Niger into a period of uncertainty and unrest. Political upheaval often precipitates economic instability, and Niger is no exception. The country's transition to a new administration has been fraught with difficulties, hindering efforts to address pressing economic issues. The latest default on debt payments underscores the severity of Niger's financial predicament. With over $500 million in outstanding debt, the country faces the specter of further economic turmoil and strained relations with international creditors. Such defaults not only tarnish Niger's reputation in the eyes of the global financial community, but also exacerbate its economic woes by limiting access to vital financing. The implications of Niger's debt default extend beyond its borders, affecting regional stability and development efforts. As one of the poorest countries in the world, Niger relies heavily on external financial assistance to meet its basic needs and drive economic growth. Persistent debt defaults jeopardize the flow of aid and investment crucial for the country's development agenda, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and underdevelopment. Moreover, the default sends distress signals to investors and lenders, raising doubts about Niger's creditworthiness and investment potential. In an increasingly interconnected global economy, confidence in a country's ability to honor its financial obligations is paramount for attracting investment and fostering economic growth. Niger's recurrent defaults risk alienating potential investors and undermining efforts to spur economic recovery. Addressing Niger's debt crisis requires a multifaceted approach that combines fiscal discipline, structural reforms, and international cooperation. The government must prioritize sound economic management and transparency to rebuild trust with creditors and regain access to financial markets. Implementing reforms to enhance debt sustainability and foster inclusive growth is essential to break the cycle of debt dependency and set Niger on a path to long-term prosperity. Additionally, international partners and multilateral institutions must continue to support Niger's efforts to navigate its economic challenges. This assistance could come in the form of debt relief, technical assistance, and targeted investments aimed at bolstering key sectors such as agriculture, infrastructure, and healthcare. Collaborative initiatives that promote economic stability and resilience are vital for mitigating the impact of debt defaults and advancing the country's development objectives. In conclusion, Niger's recurring debt defaults underscore the urgent need for concerted action to address the root causes of its economic woes. As the country grapples with post-coup turmoil, fostering economic stability and resilience is paramount to ensure sustainable development and prosperity for its people. By implementing prudent fiscal policies, embracing structural reforms, and fostering international cooperation, Niger can chart a course towards a brighter future despite the challenges it faces. Embracing unity toward a new Africa beyond borders and boundaries. In the heart of every continent lies a narrative woven with threads of history, struggle, and resilience. Africa, with its diverse cultures, languages, and landscapes, stands as a testament to the richness of human experience. Yet, amidst this diversity, there exists a common aspiration, the dream of a unified Africa, transcending borders and boundaries to forge a shared destiny. For too long, Africa has grappled with the legacy of colonialism, which carved up the continent into artificial borders, dividing communities and cultures. These boundaries, often drawn with little regard for indigenous peoples or historical connections, continue to fuel conflict, hinder development, and impede progress. However, the winds of change are stirring across the continent. There is a growing recognition that the future of Africa lies not in division, but in unity, not in isolation, but in integration. The African Union, established with the vision of promoting unity and solidarity among African states, serves as a beacon of hope for a continent seeking to redefine its place in the world. The call for a new Africa, beyond borders and boundaries, resonates deeply with the aspirations of its people. It is a call to break free from the shackles of the past and embrace a future built on cooperation, collaboration, and shared prosperity. It is a call to transcend narrow nationalism and embrace a Pan-African identity rooted in unity, diversity, and inclusivity. At the heart of this vision lies the concept of African integration, a process that seeks to foster closer economic, political, and social ties among African nations. From the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, to initiatives aimed at harmonizing visa policies and promoting cultural exchange, African integration is gaining momentum as a catalyst for transformational change. Moreover, the quest for a new Africa is not just about political or economic integration, it is also about reimagining Africa's place in the world. It is about reclaiming Africa's voice on the global stage and championing issues that resonate with the aspirations of its people, from climate change and sustainable development to peace and security. Yet, the path to a new Africa is not without its challenges. Deep-seated divisions, entrenched interests, and external pressures all pose significant obstacles to progress. Moreover, the task of nation building and state building in many African countries remains unfinished, requiring concerted efforts to address governance deficits, promote democratic values, and build inclusive institutions. However, in the face of these challenges, the spirit of Ubuntu, the belief in a shared humanity and collective responsibility, continues to inspire hope. Across the continent, ordinary Africans are working tirelessly to build bridges across divides, foster dialogue and reconciliation, and create a better future for generations to come. As we stand at a crossroads in Africa's journey, the time has come to embrace the vision of a new Africa beyond borders and boundaries. It is a vision rooted in the belief that our diversity is our strength, our unity is our power, and our shared destiny is our greatest legacy. Together, let us rise to the challenge and build a new Africa that reflects the best of who we are and the promise of what we can become. Nigeria's NAIRA plummets to record lows. Stocks sink. In a tumultuous turn of events, Nigeria's financial landscape is reeling as the nation's currency, the NAIRA, plunges to unprecedented depths, sending shockwaves through the stock market. The latest blow to Africa's largest economy comes amid mounting economic challenges and global uncertainties, posing significant hurdles for policymakers and investors alike. The alarming depreciation of the NAIRA underscores the fragility of Nigeria's economy, which has long grappled with structural vulnerabilities, volatile oil prices, and fiscal imbalances. As the country heavily relies on oil exports for revenue, fluctuations in global oil markets have a profound impact on its currency and overall economic stability. The recent downturn in oil prices, compounded by domestic factors such as inflationary pressures and weak investor confidence, has exacerbated the NAIRA's downward spiral. The ramifications of the NAIRA's free fall extend far beyond currency markets, reverberating throughout Nigeria's financial ecosystem. Stock markets, already grappling with uncertainty, have witnessed a sharp downturn as investors brace for the economic fallout. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, NSA, has experienced significant declines, eroding investor wealth and dampening prospects for economic recovery. At the heart of Nigeria's currency woes lie structural deficiencies and policy missteps that have eroded confidence in the NAIRA and undermined efforts to promote sustainable economic growth. Persistent fiscal deficits, inadequate diversification away from oil dependence, and limited foreign exchange reserves have left the country vulnerable to external shocks and speculative pressures on its currency. Moreover, the erosion of purchasing power resulting from the Naira's depreciation exacerbates inflationary pressures, further squeezing household budgets and undermining consumer confidence. High inflation not only erodes the value of savings, but also diminishes the purchasing power of wages, exacerbating poverty and inequality across the country. Addressing Nigeria's currency crisis requires a comprehensive approach that addresses both short-term stabilization measures and long-term structural reforms. In the immediate term, policymakers must prioritize measures to stabilize the Naira, restore investor confidence, and mitigate the adverse impact on the economy. This may involve interventions by the central bank to manage foreign exchange reserves, enhance liquidity management, and implement prudent monetary policies to rein in inflationary pressures. However, sustainable solutions to Nigeria's currency woes require addressing underlying structural weaknesses and promoting economic diversification and resilience. Initiatives aimed at boosting non-oil sectors, improving infrastructure, enhancing productivity, and fostering a conducive business environment are essential for reducing the economy's vulnerability to external shocks and building a more resilient economic foundation. Furthermore, promoting transparency, good governance, and accountability in economic management are crucial for restoring investor confidence and attracting much-needed foreign investment. By implementing reforms that address structural deficiencies and promote inclusive growth, Nigeria can chart a path towards economic stability, prosperity, and resilience in the face of global uncertainties. In conclusion, Nigeria's currency crisis underscores the urgent need for bold and decisive action to address underlying structural weaknesses and promote sustainable economic growth. As the country navigates through turbulent waters, policymakers must prioritize measures to stabilize the Naira, restore investor confidence, and lay the groundwork for long-term prosperity. Only through concerted efforts to address structural vulnerabilities and promote economic diversification can Nigeria build a more resilient and prosperous future for its people. Eastern Congo crisis. Residents scramble for food and safety amid intensifying conflict. In the vast and troubled region of Eastern Congo, a grim reality persists: the daily struggle for survival amidst escalating violence and insecurity. As conflict rages on, civilians find themselves caught in the crossfire, facing dire shortages of food, shelter, and safety. The recent escalation of violence in Eastern Congo has exacerbated an already dire humanitarian situation, pushing countless families to the brink of despair. Armed groups, ethnic tensions, and political instability have fueled a cycle of violence that shows little signs of abating. Communities once again find themselves engulfed in fear and uncertainty as clashes between rival factions claim lives and displace thousands from their homes. Amidst the chaos, access to essential services such as food and healthcare has become increasingly scarce. Many residents are forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in overcrowded displacement camps or remote areas where humanitarian aid struggles to reach. With limited access to food and clean water, malnutrition and disease run rampant, further exacerbating the suffering of vulnerable populations, particularly women and children. The plight of Eastern Congo's residents highlights the urgent need for concerted action to address the root causes of the conflict and alleviate the humanitarian crisis. Efforts to promote peace and reconciliation must be prioritized, with a focus on engaging all stakeholders in meaningful dialogue and addressing the grievances fueling violence. Moreover, ensuring unhindered access to humanitarian aid is essential to meet the immediate needs of affected communities. Humanitarian organizations must be allowed to operate freely and safely, without fear of intimidation or violence, to provide life-saving assistance to those in need. This includes delivering food aid, medical supplies, and shelter materials to displaced populations, as well as supporting local initiatives to build resilience and foster self-sufficiency. At the same time, efforts to address the underlying drivers of conflict must be comprehensive and inclusive, addressing issues such as land rights, resource management, and political representation. Building strong and accountable institutions, promoting respect for human rights, and fostering social cohesion are essential for laying the groundwork for lasting peace and stability in Eastern Congo. International support and solidarity are crucial in addressing the crisis in Eastern Congo. The international community must reaffirm its commitment to the region's peace and stability, providing both financial assistance and diplomatic support to local and regional efforts aimed at resolving the conflict. This includes supporting peacekeeping missions, facilitating mediation efforts, and promoting reconciliation initiatives that engage all stakeholders in the pursuit of peace. Ultimately, the plight of Eastern Congo's residents serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the urgent need for collective action to alleviate their suffering. As the world grapples with a myriad of crises, the plight of Eastern Congo must not be forgotten. It is incumbent upon the international community to stand in solidarity with the people of Eastern Congo, offering them hope, support, and a pathway to a brighter and more peaceful future. As tensions escalate once again between Israel and Gaza, Hamas accuses Israel of lacking seriousness in its pursuit of a ceasefire, exacerbating fears of renewed violence and instability in the region. The latest developments underscore the fragile nature of the truce efforts and the deep-rooted animosity between the two sides. Hamas, the militant group governing the Gaza Strip, has criticized Israel's approach to negotiations, arguing that Israeli actions demonstrate a lack of genuine commitment to achieving lasting peace. According to Hamas officials, Israel's reluctance to address key issues such as the blockade of Gaza and the status of Palestinian prisoners undermines the prospects for a meaningful truce agreement. The war of words between Hamas and Israel comes against the backdrop of recent clashes and airstrikes, which have once again plunged Gaza into chaos and uncertainty. The cycle of violence, punctuated by periodic escalations and temporary ceasefires, has become all too familiar for the residents of Gaza, who bear the brunt of the conflict's devastating impact on their lives and livelihoods. In response to Hamas's accusations, Israeli officials have defended their stance, insisting that Hamas must cease its rocket attacks and other acts of aggression before any meaningful negotiations can take place. Israel views Hamas as a terrorist organization and holds it responsible for instigating violence against Israeli civilians, a stance that further complicates efforts to reach a lasting ceasefire agreement. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Gaza highlights the broader challenges facing the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, which has stagnated for years amid deep-seated distrust and competing claims to land and sovereignty. Efforts to revive peace talks have been hampered by political divisions, regional rivalries, and the absence of a viable framework for negotiations. Meanwhile, the humanitarian situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate, with millions of Palestinians living in poverty and facing acute shortages of essential goods and services. The blockade imposed by Israel and Egypt, combined with the devastation wrought by successive conflicts, has left Gaza's infrastructure in ruins and its economy in shambles, exacerbating the suffering of its residents. As the international community calls for restraint and renewed diplomatic efforts to defuse tensions, the prospects for a lasting ceasefire remain uncertain. The United Nations and other international actors have urged both sides to refrain from actions that could further escalate the conflict and to engage in constructive dialogue to address the root causes of the crisis. In the midst of the ongoing violence and uncertainty, one thing remains clear: the need for a comprehensive and sustainable solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that addresses the legitimate grievances and aspirations of both sides. Only through genuine dialogue, mutual respect, and a commitment to peace can the cycle of violence and suffering in Gaza be brought to an end, paving the way for a brighter and more secure future for all.
Quest to Unite Africa is a 501c3 nonprofit organization organized under the laws of the state of Florida, with its principal office located in Florida. The purpose of this organization is the mobilization of critical infrastructure and resources to benefit the continent of Africa. If you have found this video interesting, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our page at Quest to Unite Africa on YouTube.